bring it back to your money, your portfolio, and our markets. Now we've got someone who's watching Europe's bond yields closely for clues on how to invest here in the U.S.
Stanley Crouch is the Chief Investment Officer of Aegis Capital, and he joins us now. Stanley, good to see you again.
Good to see you.
We're all looking for indicators about how what happens over there is going to affect us here. And you look at the spreads, the Italian and Spanish bond spreads against German bonds. Is that spread growing, indicating the crisis is growing?
Unfortunately, it's widened, and that's despite the ECB's action to lower rates this week with Mr. Draghi taking over. So it's very concerning, because any time you add complexity of debt to an already compromised situation of debt, the exponential effect negatively is profound.
What are the flares, the signals and the warning signs that you look at specifically that indicate to you that maybe it's not just Greece, that Italy may be the next gigantic implosion that we deal with, and how that might affect our money here in the U.S.?
Sure. Well, I'm also looking at the process. So here we have G20, and they came away with, come back to us with a plan, Europe, effectively. And I think that's quite disturbing after all this, because Europe's missed multiple deadlines, and even G20 says, we're not going to create a funding facility for you because we still don't have the detail of your plan. So why wouldn't yields continue to spread? And every piece of news that comes out affects our markets. And the magnitude of that effect is beyond. It's many hundreds of billions of dollars.
Is there a fund, though? You know, the IMF has its own currency. And there was talk about building up that currency that would be tradable. This is sort of a bond issued by the IMF, and whether or not even the Australians were thinking of adding more money into that fund for the IMF money, if you will. Do you think that's a good idea, or is it wise to hold back the money until we know what they're going to come up with?
I think we need a collaborative effort. This is a global problem. We need a globalized solution. I'm convinced of that. I believe this has gone past Europe's capability. It's that simple.
But we don't want our money involved in bailing out Italy and Greece.
Although it's a tough political sell for the candidates on both sides, the fact is, I think we're going to have to be involved in the solution.
For people watching right now, is there any way to insure their portfolio against this future downdraft, all of the concern that's coming out of Europe? What would you advise people to have their money in right now, Stanley?
Well, there's two ways. One is fundamental, your fundamental belief about investing. Our fundamental belief is simple. We don't know outcomes. We can't. And the volatility and the event risk is profound. So what we do is we set up an income model. We are highly diversified in bonds, equities, but sustainability is the key. Making sure that you've got sound fundamentals, that the margins for continued cash flow that you can then compound.
Like what, dividend-paying stocks?
Dividend-paying equities, but low-leverage companies, good balance sheets, very strong income statements that you look and say, hey, if we really have a downturn, how sustainable is it? Remember, in the depths of the Depression in 1932, at the worst of it, the dividend yield on the S&P was 13.84%, current return on your cash. That tells me two things. One, nobody wanted equities, and two, companies still paid a dividend.
We got to go, but I have to ask. John Corsine, you talk about belief. He believed that these countries would be bailed out. Was that a foolish belief?
Well, in a trading capacity, it pays to be hedged fully. And I think the questions are, were those hedges operative and MF, and plus there are other issues of commingling funds and that sort of thing. But that's damaging. Those sorts of events and the questions surrounding some other firms are damaging to confidence. And this is all about confidence. Without confidence, we're in trouble.
So true. Stanley Crouch, great to see you. Thank you for being here.
Always good. You're welcome.